altruistic than profitable, revenue generating, or innovative. The 1900s came about. The World War started. Y'all remember that? When the World War started, it went from being nurse-centric to totalitarian, operational, doctor-centric. Why? Because in the field, it was the doctors and the surgeons that were creating innovative surgeries. And the military structure was developed in order to create a system to how these surgeries and how recovery looked like in the field of battle. I'm going somewhere, okay? I'm going somewhere. So when these men came back from war, they brought their military structure and surgeon-centric and centered structure to healthcare. This is why you see a big dynamic between the fight, a lot of times between nurses and surgeons. Have y'all noticed that? Nurses and surgeons, it's either the hospitals run by surgeons or the hospitals run by nurses. And then you rarely see hospitals where nurses, surgeons, or physicians work together. Why? Because many of them don't know the origin. So when you have a history of nurses that where the hospital system used to be centered around them, abruptly being changed to be centered around physicians and surgeons, that's where the battle of these two came. Why is this important? Because you got to understand where we are. So in the early 1900s, all the way up until the 2000s, really the 2010s, it has been physician and surgeon centered. Okay. Now moving into today, it's more focused on during the surgeons, it was about surgeries and order. Because when religious systems were running the hospital systems, it was about altruistic care without order. This was anybody coming in can get help. We'll support you. We'll try. We'll do whatever. Then the army came, military structure came. Then it was about surgeries and order. Now today, it's about efficiency and ROI. That's why they're looking at technology. That's why they're looking at robotics. That's why they're looking at the bottom line. Why? Because in 2 major centuries of religious, well, that was for years, more than a century, and then surgeon-centered organization, they're realizing that hospitals are still hurting to remain profitable and staying open. That's why you see a lot of hospitals getting acquired, because the hospitals that are run inefficiently shut down. They lose resources because people care more about the altruistic version than the business side. And those that care about the business side don't care about the altruistic side. So now in this era, we have the opportunity to merge both business, operational, surgical services with the altruistic, caring, nursing, and bridging them together to change healthcare as a collective. Are y'all following me? Are y'all following me? So in today's times, now it's becoming to be circled around innovation, profitability, patient care. So it went from being centered around nurses, just helping people ease their life, to surgeons structure, order, and propelling surgeons for new surgeries, to now, let's focus on getting more efficient, dealing with patient care, dealing with innovation. That's why we see a spike in what? Things that were back then just 10 years ago, y'all. Y'all got to remember this. Just 10 years ago in central sterile processing, these things that are required now were just open recommendations. Those of you that's been in the industry, you know what I'm talking about. Now we're getting into the fact that they're no longer thinking of things to be recommended. They're considering them to be required. Why? Because the pandemic is what actually made the healthcare system pay attention to sterile processing, infection control, and patient care. Y'all see why understanding the past helps you understand where we are now? Are y'all seeing why we have to continue to have room to grow? Because as the industry changes, the focus of your senior leadership changes. So if I'm stuck in the 2000s way of doing things and not in the 2010s moving forward, 2020s moving forward, what I'm communicating is no longer a focus. And when it's not a focus, you're not priority. And if you're not priority and you're not communicating from the new focus, they're going to believe that you're out of touch. And if they believe that you're out of touch, do you think they're going to trust you with new budget and new resources? Put it in the chat. If you're out of touch with the times of today, do you think they'll trust you with new resources? If you're not a progressive leader, focusing on patient care, innovation, technology adaptability, infection rates and regulations being standards, you're going to find yourself lacking support. So the reason why I gave you the history lesson is because I need you, well as everyone else that you know, to understand. In order for you to be heard, you have to speak the language that they understand. Prime example. Have you ever been somewhere where people are speaking different languages, but the moment someone speaks your language, your ear perks up and you turn? Can anyone tell me why? Have you ever traveled to a place where they don't naturally speak your language? Whether it's Ebonics, country, English, proper, ghetto, proper, educated, non-educated, Spanish. When you go to a place when they're speaking a language you don't understand, your ears and frequencies don't tune in. Until someone speaks your language, you perk up and you look. And you find solace in that person. Why is this important? Your leadership is listening to a different language now. So if you're speaking in old terminology, you're not going to get their attention. Oh, y'all can't tell. You can't tell me I ain't teaching today. I know I'm teaching. You listen. I'm gonna toot my own horn. Toot. I wish I had a tutor right now. Little tutor. Okay. So here's why financial literacy matters. Financial literacy allows for senior leadership understand that you understand the importance of the need for efficient operations, reduce costs, and resource optimization. Historically, hospital departments and people in departments have historically been poor managers of resources. How do I know this? Let me tell you how I know. Because some of y'all be stealing equipment from the hospital for your own house. Oh, I'm in y'all business.